Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all of the praises and the glory to the Most High and His Son, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem, Rakak, Radash, and double honors to that apostles of the great millstone that taught us this truth, Yahweh Ba'ashem, Al-Shai, Brakatham, to all that Akim out that is forwarding this truth as well. And it's your brother Laban coming at you with another video in regards to some more news on the MOTB prophecy. And, what I did was I caught onto this video here on Rumble. And this guy that you see on your right, which I believe his name is something Werner. Richard Werner. There you go, Richard Werner. He was the guy that gave an interview and exposed the agenda of the bankers on how eventually, as well as many have exposed this too, beginning with, as I'm thinking about now, this one individual, Aaron Russo, how he stated that the central bankers, officially, when it's all said and done, they want everybody chipped. And, in this video, he mentions that since 2015, they had the model or the prototype. And also, he stated that one of the reasons as to why they've also staged the the psychological operation that he was under too, which was the COV, and which really that was all a test run, as we all know that already now. But when you think back to that time period, there was a couple of things that should have happened. Now, what did happen is the fact that people didn't go to take the VC shot. That's what happened. But there was something else that was supposed to happen, and it didn't happen. And that was the vaccine passports. A lot of people didn't really gravitate to the vaccine passport idea. And if they probably did, then they would have used that as an excuse to bring people much more further into the technological side of things. In other words, getting to the implantation stage. But obviously that didn't work out, as he explains in this video here. And I'm going to play a couple of minutes into this video, then I'm going to get to some scriptures.
Welcome back, everyone. My next guest's resume would take an entire segment to discuss, so I'll try my best to give you a shortened version. Professor Richard Werner holds a first-class honors Bachelor of Science in Economics from the London School of Economics and a doctorate in economics from the University at Oxford. He's advised many of the major banks of the world, including as a senior consultant to the Asian Development Bank and a researcher for the Japanese Ministry of Finance and the Bank of Japan. Additionally, he was a member of the European Central Bank Shadow Council for a number of years. Werner has also been a professor of economics and finance for many of the world's prestigious universities. He's probably most known for, in 1995, proposing a new monetary policy which he called quantitative easing during Japan's financial crisis. This policy was later used by most of the world's central banks and the U.S. Federal Reserve after the financial crisis of 2008. That being said, I'm grateful he's taken the time today to join me for a discussion about central banks and the rise of central bank digital lecture at the Amsterdam Science Summit on Central Bank Digital Currencies and Agenda 2030. Are CBDCs a foregone conclusion for humanity's future? Is a control apparatus necessary for the fulfillment of their goals, so to speak?
Well, it's certainly what the central planners have set their eyes on. That is very clear, and it's become increasingly clear since 2020 with the virus pandemic scare that was very concerted and coordinated action. And one of the aims was to introduce digital IDs, which is one of the components for central bank digital currencies. But I would not say it's a foregone conclusion. That really depends on us, and that's why it's really important for us to become aware of this and to make others aware of this. and that we really need to stop it, because central bank digital currencies are, it seems technical, and so people think, okay, they're just introducing something technical new, some improvement, but it's not about that. They're not even really proper currencies. It is more a digital control grid. And if you have your money in central bank digital currencies, which is what the central planners are aiming at, then the use of what you thought is your money will be dependent on them giving you permission. It's basically a conditional potential currency, and for each and every transaction, it will depend on whether the central planners agree. Because for central planners, it's a dream come true. I mean, not even Stalin at the height of the totalitarian Stalinistic regime, or Hitler or other totalitarian regimes, would have dreamt of the enormous power that is given to a very small number of people in charge of central bank digital currencies. And that's where we have to be very much, we have to get mobilized against this, really.
Yeah, we absolutely do, and that's becoming increasingly...
And I mean, how can most people get mobilized against it when most people around the world took the VC shot, which weakened their immune system and just weakened them overall? How can they fight against this? They can't fight against this. So eventually, and it's funny because we were speaking about this at the camp, and I said, the people that once upon a time said they would take the VC, wound up taking the VC shot. So those same individuals, do you really think they have the power to kick back, to resist the MOTB? They're not going to be able to have the power to do that. And just to kind of like go into how the VC has affected people, right? People that have taken several of them, when it was told to them to take several of them, now you find out that they're actually dropping dead. They're the main ones dropping dead. The ones that took two of them, they feel like they're on their way out. The ones that took one of them, they don't feel right. Their body's functioning, but they don't feel right. All right. So for the most part, these are the same individuals that's going to go right ahead to take the you know what, because as it was, or as it is, let me correct myself. It's an mRNA VC shot. So what it's done to those that have taken it, it's actually genetically modified them, their DNA, so that eventually their body can be equipped for the real thing. So, I mean, I get what the man is saying, because this dude, he ain't no fly-by-nighter. This guy is a professor. Richard Werner, he used to be in that world with these individuals that are responsible for bringing in this new world order, the way they're going to bring it in. All right? So he knows the deal. So now, I want to read this article as well, but before I go there, what I want to do is I want to read Job 5 and verse 12, and I want to say this as well, because like I've said, we know that the COV period was a trial run. We know this. So, being that it was a trial run and it was a test, what we've witnessed is that a lot of people lined up and they took the VC shot. But there was something that was supposed to go ahead and work. And, there was a couple other things that was supposed to happen, but it didn't happen, right? When the media said that the COV wasn't as bad as it was anymore and it was dwindling them, everybody decided to go outside of their doors and reverted back to what they were doing before. Everything returned back to normal, as it is right now, to a certain degree anyway, right? Not 100%, but almost. And what they expected was for all of us to stay in the house because of this scare of this variant putting people to death. But what happened was people, like I said, they've renounced all of that and went back to what they was doing before. All right. So the psychological operation wasn't as powerful enough to keep people at bay in their houses, despite the fact they did say in the media that it isn't as bad as we're now, or as we've used to say that it was. And then the the vaccine passport thing didn't even work out. And this was a trial run. So just imagine when a real thing happens. What do you think is going to happen? People are going to line up to take the mark. Oh yeah, but there's going to be other stuff that's going to go wrong along the way too. Just like what happened during the trial run, as I've explained. This is why I want to read this. Job 5 and verse 12. He disappointeth the devices, the thoughts, the plans of the crafty, and so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. And what is their enterprise? To you to be connected to your government technologically with this implantable device. That's their enterprise. Okay, verse 13. He taketh the wise in their own craftiness, which, just to simply basically put it, the New World Order system. And the counsel of the froward is carried headlong. In other words, they're in a state of panicking now. Verse 14, and they meet with darkness in the daytime and grope in the noonday as in the night. So what does this mean that they grope in the noonday as in the night? Meaning that they are operating with uncertainty. They know that they have to come together and conspire with these different meetings to, again, how are we going to get people influenced by our narratives so that they can basically do what they're expected or what we expect them to do. But still, they feel that there's an uncertainty because, for one, a lot of people are talking about these people. People are exposing these people. People that once upon a time worked in the CIA or worked in other important areas of this world are exposing them. Like this individual, Richard Werner. He was in that world of these people. So you got people like him that are coming out for some odd reason because they've had enough of what's going on, or they see the writing on the wall, so to speak, and they feel like obligated to step aside of that corner and reveal and expose this, hopefully that maybe people can mobilize against it, in his own words. Because even he knows that this is a danger to even his own life. All right? So a lot of people are talking, a lot of information is being exposed. And plus, what also is happening is there's a lot of truth coming out in these last days too. And this is why they're moving with uncertainty out here. Another thing that I forgot to say, why that is because they know if they do bring in and initiate this mark, because they know they have to do it. They know they ain't got no choice. These globalists, these governments all around, these politicians all around the world, they know that eventually they're going to have to forward this implantable device, actually a global thing. They know this. But how come they haven't done it as of yet? Like this individual said, they had the model, they had the prototype since 2015. So why is it now we haven't still, or let me say it differently. Why is it that now they still don't have it in activation? Like what's holding them back? What's holding them back is the fact that they're afraid of the reaction again. But I wouldn't really be concerned about the reaction because there's going to be a reaction anyway. Anything that these devils do, there's going to be a reaction to it. All right? That's just life. Whether you do good or whether you do bad, there's a reaction to it. All right? So that's one of the reasons as well that I forgot to mention why they're uncertain on this. Now let's look up the word group. Anyway, right? Even though I said what the word meant, but let's look it up anyway. So the word is mashash or mashasha or mashash. I think it's mashash. So we'll go with that instead. To feel, grope, over or through, grope, to feel, to grope, meaning that basically, again, uncertainty. It's like, let's say if you're a blind man and you can't see. This is why blind people, they walk around with these blind sticks, or they'll get a blind dog because they don't feel confident walking by themselves. Otherwise, they'll probably bump into people or they'll hit the wall. So there's an uncertainty that they have that if they without these things, then they won't be able to function. So that's how these elites are feeling right now. They feel as though, yeah, their plan is this and that, and it's moving on through, but there's a feeling of uncertainty because, like I said, people are talking about whatever it is that they're doing. People are exposing information, and there's a lot of truth coming out about who these people really are and what their agenda really is overall. All right, so they're afraid of the backlash, but whether they're afraid of the backlash or not, they're going to get the backlash anyway. All right, so now I want to read this as well. Job 11 and verse 20. But the eyes of the wicked shall fail, and they cannot escape. And they shall not escape, and their hope shall be as the giving up of the ghost. Let me read this again. But the eyes of the wicked shall fail, and they shall not escape, meaning all of that which is what they expect to happen is going to fail. And that they shall not escape, and their hope shall be as the giving up of the ghost. So there you go. So all of the things that they expect and hope for is not going to fall into fruition. And maybe they notice in the back of their mind too. Now, in one part of their mind, they're believing that we can get this ball rolling, but then there's another side of them that is uncertain. Maybe this thing ain't gonna work out the way we expect it to work out. All right, and then you got the prophets of the Lord speaking about this implantable device, and he also mentioned that in this video too. He said that, as I'm going to say in my words, the reason why we haven't got to the point of this implant because there's a lot of pushback on it, meaning that people are talking. And the ultimate reason why they're uncertain, because like I said, the prophets are speaking about their plans. That's the ultimate, I would say. So now let's get the book of Psalms 9 and verse 14. Verse 15. The heathen are sunk down in the pit that they made. In the net which they hid in their own foot is taken. The Lord is known by the judgment which he executed. Here's the point. The wicked is snared in the work of his own hands, like Guy on Salah. And that's just the thing. They're afraid that they're going to get caught in their own snare. That's why they haven't really pushed this thing through. And they had all of the years to do it. You know, while people were distracted, and whatever it is that they were distracted in their life or what was on the television, they could basically pull this thing off at any given moment. But we're in the year 2023, heading into 24, and nothing's happened yet concerning the coming through of this implantable device. Because there's an uncertainty. But like I said, it really doesn't make a difference whether they care about the reaction they're going to get or not. They're going to get the reaction. Their back's up against the wall. They have no choice but to pull this thing through. All right. Let me read this again. The heathen are sunk down in the pit that they made, and in the net which they hid is their own foot taken. The Lord Yahweh is known by the judgment which he executed. And the wicked is snared in the work of his own hands. And that's just the thing. They're going to be snared in their own hands, whether they're cautious of that or not. They're going to be ensnared of their own plans. Because the Lord gave them the spirit to come up with what they came up with so far. Right? And ultimately, they're going to come up with the implantable device, which they've already got that. But I'm saying they're gonna bring it into fruition, and then other things are going to fall thereafter. Right? It's not going to go smooth if that's what they want to believe. But obviously, they know that something is going to give if they bring this in. This is the book of Job 21 and verse 27. Behold, I know your thoughts and the devices which ye wrongfully imagined against me. And we know that these devils have it in for the prophets. They have it in for people that speak up against a particular narrative that they're trying to bring to the people. And as well as we know that there's been legislations that have been passed, legislations that have been pretty much posted up and written into existence in secret, right? We know that there's hundreds of concentration camps nationwide in America, and that eventually, when the hour of martial law is declared, which they're going to be giving the power to do so, there's also legislation on that. And when the time is right, they're gonna put all of that to use. Also, can't forget they would like to get rid of the nation of Israel as well. So yes, let me read this again. Behold, I know your thoughts and the devices which you wrongfully imagine against me. Psalms 10 verse 2 now. The wicked in his pride doeth persecute the poor, and let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. And yes, they will. They will be taken in the devices of that which they have imagined. Because this MOTB thing is something that they really can't help themselves to really want, because they fancy the idea of having extreme power and controlling your life like on a level you haven't even experienced, and that they can call themselves the gods of the planet Earth. All right. The Lord bringeth the counsel of the heathen to naught, and he maketh the devices of the people of none effect. So there you go. Going back to the book of Job 5, as I'm going to read again. Because like I said, the Lord gives the knowledge of men to fulfill his will. And with that knowledge, he can use against these men, especially the wicked. Verse 12, he disappointed the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform the enterprise. So yeah, the Lord is going to bring an end to their devices, and their whole entire world for that matter. So this is what we got coming up next. All hell's getting ready to break loose, and this devil, he's got his last card on the table, and he's going to use that card. You better believe he's going to use that card to get everybody on planet. It could very well be, a multitude of different psychological aberrations. We don't know how this devil's going to get down, but we just know he's going to come and do something, which is going to give him the excuse to express that anger and that wrath that he's going to have, because he knows that he have but a short time, and in that time there lies the time of Jacob's trouble, and hopefully in that time he can bring in this implantable device. Okay, let me read this article to you as well. This is Engadget.com. So this is what it reads. Chip implants get under your skin so you can leave your keys at home. Unlock doors, authenticate your identity, or show off a cool party trick. So as this reads, which is brought by Katie Malone, software engineer Miana Wendell has about 25 implants under her skin, ranging from the magnet to RFID tech. While that might make your skin crawl if you're squeamish, for the most part, they're not really noticeable. And she told Engadget at the DEF CON security conference on Thursday, Wendell talked about how she became interested in the implants and her experience programming them for personal use, like scanning into a formal office building. Salakia. So now RFID tech powers scannable technology like subway cards or tap to pay. The relatively simple tech was first patented in the 1970s, and body modifications date back millennia. Despite this, RFID implants still haven't reached their full potential, and they're still a gimmick for a lot of people, Wendell said. But if you want to go clubbing and not bring a bag, you can buy the right style of lock and implant sensors that you can't lose to scan in and out of your home. So there you have it. And I remember some time ago, man, when the elder apostles, and as well as even the brothers overall, the main New York camp was in 34th and 7th, and I remember they had this placard, and it had the different pictures on it concerning the microchip, and he had the picture of the Baja Club on it. Okay, which I believe that went back to 2006 or something like that, if I'm correct. The Baja Club thing. And I can't forget, I also want to mention the video that Fat Joe was in. It was called Lean Back. which came out in I think 2004, something like that anyway. And in that video, it was showing you the biometric technology that you would have to, in order for you to win into that club, you would have to have like an implant inside of you. All right, which I think that club was the Baja Club, if I'm correct. You know, or something like it. It's probably a different club. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say from there. So now let's get out of here. Let's get another precept, and we're gonna go and get the book of Proverbs 12, and we're going to read. I think it's yeah, this is it right here. The wicked is snared by the transgression of his lips, but the just shall come out of trouble. No, that's not it. Yeah, I was wrong. It's in verse 1. No, it's in verse 3. It's in verse 3. This is it right here. Proverbs 12, verse 3. A man shall not be established by wickedness, but the root of the righteous shall not be moved. And this is what they think. So they think with this implantable device, that's going to be the final box to tick. That's going to be the final thing that they got to get up and running to solidify themselves being fully established as who they would like to be. But according to nature, and as well as Solomon put it, which Solomon was the wisest man of all time in his day. Verse 3, a man shall not be established by wickedness, but the root of the righteous shall not be moved. So the only person or group of people that can be established are the righteous. But why aren't we established at all? Because right now we're facing the ills of today's life, because the Lord wants it that way due to our sins. This is why we are not established now, but in due time, when the time is right, we are going to be established. And when the righteous are established, they're going to be established forever, because that's the only thing that can work, is the vibration of righteousness. All right, and that's the vibration we're going to be under and influencing many. Okay, good lasts forever. Wickedness will only endure for a while. And that's probably another reason why they're uncertain with their plans. So yeah, so now what I want to do is I want to play this video, and this woman, which her name is Allison Lagrange, from the We On Live broadcast, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So now let's play this.
Technology has advanced to an extent where we use finger scans and face IDs full-fledgedly. But when it comes to implanting chips under the skin, it doesn't seem to have reached its full potential. The act still feels like a gimmick rather than a modern robotic human. And such is the scenario when this technology has already existed for many, many decades. Now, would you ever get an electronic chip under your skin? The chips planted under the skin tend to carry the RFID technology. Now, RFID, or radio frequency identification, enables technologies like tap to pay and subway cards. So in case you don't want to carry your bags and bank cards to pay, you can have such chips installed under your skin. One can also install sensors and avoid carrying keys to home and unlocking cars. But an important point to note is that such technologies do not work like how they would For example, in a Mission Impossible film. In fact, they don't work half the time and are still a bit far from being successfully used. Another integral drawback of such...
And you know what, too? Eventually, it's going to be used. Oh, yeah, it's going to be used. Just like, for example, like I said, right? And I'll say this again. Many people said that in no way, shape, or form am I going to get the VC shot. Certain people said this, and they went ahead and they took it. So even though this chip thing seems to be taboo to a lot of people, when they're told that they can't buy or sell, that's when everyone's going to line up and they're going to go and get it done. You know? And just like I said at the camp, the reason why a lot of us are going to financial struggles right now, which we gotta be, because things are difficult now. You know, I mean, if you ain't big banking it, then you know you're struggling out here, right? So, like I said, the reason why you have this inflation every time that we're in, because it's just to basically push us towards the wall, you know, to the point where it's like we'll be willing to grab at anything to get out of this problematic time that we're now suffering. And by that time, which we ain't here yet, you know, we're going through the struggles now on a financial tip, but it's going to get a lot worse. And when it does get a lot worse, that's going to be the right time, and as well as you're going to have these psychological aberrations probably coming at us too at the same time, and that's going to be the right time for us to take that mark, according to them. But despite how hard it gets, it's already been written that the men of the Lord, which those that have been preserved from destruction since the beginning, they're not going to take that mark to be destroyed. Okay, so no matter what this devil does, and it's going to have an effect, but it won't have an effect on us like that, because we already know the devil's tricks. We saw it coming. All right, we have the knowledge of this devil, so this devil can't fool us. Once you are consciously aware of something or a group of people, they can't really pull the wool over your eyes anymore. They can't do anything to trick you or to persuade you, because you see it. You see what they're doing. All right, the puppet masters have been revealed to us, pulling the strings of everything and everybody, but they're not pulling our strings, because we've cut those strings off. So anyway, that's all I have to say. With that, I want to give all of the praises and glory to the Most High and His Son, Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai Bashem, Rakak, with that, I am out. Shalom.